Tuesday on Daily Delivery. Usually we do this on Monday. Patrick Reusse joins me right now to talk about the weekend in sports. Patrick, we're getting to that point in the sports schedule where not as much is necessarily happening, but still plenty to get to today. Just to want to promote a series coming up next week too, right off the jump here. We're doing a look back at a whole bunch of big events that happened in Minnesota in 1991 into early part of 1992. That includes U.S. Open, which Patrick will be talking with me about on next week's podcast. North Stars in the NHL Finals, the World Series here between the Twins and Atlanta, the Super Bowl, and the Final Four. So much in that 30-year ago time frame. But right now, Patrick, we're here to talk current events. First of all, how you doing? Did you have a good fourth?
It was fine. Yeah, we the neighborhood here they shoot off a little fireworks. I think the guy down the block ran out before the fourth, though. He was going pretty good all last week, and then I didn't hear the booms. So maybe he headed for the lake or something. You never know who's heading for the lake. I always kind of enjoy the people who don't go to the lake, who stick around the Twin Cities and have a good old time. And I saw plenty of those. I was downtown for a little while, and we can still we don't have to go to the lake. You go to the lake, the first thing you do is mow the lawn. Who wants to do that? Who has to go? Who wants to drive 3 hours to go mow the lawn? I don't get it. Many years ago, 20 years ago, probably, I wrote a column demeaning cabin owners, and they ran it on the front page of the Star Tribune. That was before we were taking comments, but that would have been interesting because I got a lot of letters on that one, or emails. So anyway,
you'd get a lot of Twitter feedback on that one too, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that's right. That there would be a little Twitter feedback on that too. But hey, the Twinkies found out the joys of getting decent pitching though the last 2 days. Isn't that a miracle when you're their ERA entering Maeda's game on Sunday was 5.08, exactly 1.5 runs higher than last season. 1.5 runs higher than last season. Fourth in 2020, 28th in 2021. As we've said before on this conversation, Mike, it's no great mystery as to why this team is buried. It's pitching. But I was thrilled to see that Shoemaker cleared waivers, so we got him in St. Paul trying to get shaped up, and he could be back at any moment, with this club. So
that worries me. I'm going to a Saints game in about a week. What if he follows me there?
What if the shoe was pitching that game? Yeah,
waiting for the other shoe to drop. It
is amazing how nobody there's like the AAA. They got this mass of pitchers. They have like 16, 17 pitchers in AAA, and so nobody ever gets actually released. They release them, but then they clear waivers and they sign them all back. They don't get rid of anybody who, no matter how often they've failed. Derek Law is back, for goodness sake. So what more could a Derek have done to get released, right? I mean, don't give the guy a break, pay him off, let him go back home and visit his family. Come on.
It's funny you mentioned pitching at the outset, because I had jotted down some numbers, and it was kind of the impetus of it was two things. One was Lavelle was on the show on Friday talking about how the Twins, and he's covered the beat for so many years. He's close with a lot of the the front office and the inside kind of stuff. And his understanding is that the Twins feel like 2021 is kind of a blip on the radar when it comes to the bad pitching, and that they've got the right system in place. They believe in it. I think he used the analogy of a bad run of cards in blackjack. So I went and looked it up. And here's the ERAs and the standings on the pitching since the Falvey Levine regime took over. I know some of this is stuff they inherited, but you also have the opportunity. Pitching is something you can rebuild a little bit on the fly and get better at with a few good decisions. 2017, the first year they're here, team ERA 4.59, 19th in the league, or 19th in baseball. 2018, 4.50, 22nd in baseball. Now, 2019, the year they hit all the home runs, obviously. 4.18 pitching was pretty decent relative to the rest of the league. They were 8th. Last year, 4th with 3.58, like you mentioned. This year, 5.04 now through those games, even after the good starts. They had some bullpen leakage. 28th in the majors. So is this just a bad run of luck, Patrick, or do they just not have the horses and aren't identifying the right horses?
Well, I think I pointed out that they inherited a better starting rotation in 17 than they've ever had since they've been here, right? I mean, look it up. Gibby had a good year, and I think that was the year Gibby was good. And they basically had a better rotation. Barrios was a kid; he was just starting off, but they had a better rotation they inherited than they've had, and it's certainly better than this collection. To me, what bothers me a lot is the development of starting pitching, because the great thing about having Cott on the broadcast this weekend, and is he a breath of fresh candor, isn't he? Yes. When he's on, but he, starting pitching still, even if you're hooking him in the 5th, 6th innings all the time, starting pitching is still something you cannot get along without. And right now, this Winder kid, they like him. He's at St. Paul. Cantorino was probably their best prospect, but he came down with a bad elbow, and he's still an A ball in Cedar Rapids. And Balazovic, who they liked a lot a couple of years ago, they didn't like him enough to have him in St. Paul last year during the, when they had the B team over there. And, he's in Double-A now, pitching for Wichita because he's been hurt a lot. I just, and Bailey Ober, God love him. To me, he looks like a long-term reliever. I don't know how that variety of pitches plays into the 6th or 7th inning. I love the fact that he gets the ball, throws it back, throws strikes. And when he's in a groove, he's pretty dang good. But there's no development of starting pitching going on here, as far as I can see. They might have, you gave how many starts to J.A. Happ and right. Matt Shoemaker, and you can't talk like you're on the cusp here when Pineda's in his 30s, Maeda's in his 30s, Barrios, you're either going to have to pay him a ton of money or let him walk. Trade him and get something. I would not agree that this is a blip. I think. Plus, you're not young. It's not like some young, Garber, if he comes back, is going to be 31. Cruz is he's probably
41.
He's probably in his last year. Sano is a 28-year-old washout. It's these guys are not young, and Kepler, all of a sudden last night, he hit, God almighty, we talk about Sano discovering right field once in a while. Kepler discovered left field a couple of times this weekend. That gave me a heart palpitations seeing him hit the ball to left field. But this isn't a young team on the cusp. This is an old, Polanco turned 28 yesterday. That's, they're not a young team at all. And so you look at AAA, there's nobody over there. Maybe Miranda now, he can hit, but there's nobody over there that makes you go, wow, wait till he gets here. We're seeing them all right now. Now, Kirilloff, he's going to be a stud. There's no doubt about it. That guy can hit. And Larnach was going to hit 30 home runs, hit for lower average, but hit 30 home runs. But the idea that I think it's a lot more like 2011 than these guys want to admit. I think that's, Detroit's better than you are right now, for goodness sake. So I see no optimism here at all myself. So,
yeah, I think you hit on it. Like there's the idea that they can just turn this around quickly, based on what we've seen this year. And again, this is, coming off two good starting pitching outings. Maeda gave him, really good innings, 6 innings, I think on Sunday. And then Bailey Ober with the 5 shutout innings and their 8-5 win. on Monday coming home against Chicago. But yeah, it's this idea of who else is gonna fill in behind those guys. And I think you made a good point with, if you're giving that many starts to Shoemaker and Happ, hoping that they're going to turn their seasons around, and maybe Happ, you can see he's got more of a track record. Shoemaker, just letting him kind of roll out there so many times, it just kind of shows you've got nobody else ready to try to do that. And one other interesting point on the pitching that I want to bring up too is that last year, I was curious, because they were so much better last year, 3.58 ERA, fourth in the majors. Well, you know what? I wonder how much they fooled themselves a little bit by how poor their competition was last season. Because I went back and looked at it. I mean, you had to play only AL Central and NL Central teams. Aside from the White Sox, the rest of those 8 opponents were all below average, league average wise, in runs scored last year. And 7 of the 8 were in the bottom 8. So you're pitching to a lot of bad offenses, and that's starting to feel more like the season that was the outlier instead of this season. I don't know.
Yeah, and I tell you, one of the most distressing things to me was when they drafted that Sabato first last year. The guy going into the draft as the big lug without a position home run hitter. And that told me these guys believe that the game is going to continue to be a bunch of guys swinging from their rear end, trying to hit home runs, nothing else. And I think it's changing. I think that you're going to have to be able to manufacture some runs. You can't load the bases with nobody out and have the next 3 guys strike out like they do half the time. And I think that I think they still have the old thinking of 2018. The game changes quickly. And you look at Houston. Houston's the best hitting team in the league because they put the ball in play. They put they don't strike out 1,000 times. They put the ball in play. They hit a home run, sure, but they don't. The whole thing isn't built on hitting home runs, and they have not. They're not close to making that transition to a more athletic team. Bottom line, when Buxton doesn't play, the number of athletes they have on the field is nil. I mean, Polanco used to run better than he does now because I think his legs have had a lot of problems. Rise is not fast. They kept, Larnick and Kirillov's actually a good base runner. You can see that, but he's not fast. It's not an athletic team. And I think you got to have athletes on the field here in the future. And I mean, look at the White Sox. They're playing their second team outfield. They don't have any of their outfielders, and they're more athletic than you are. Yeah, so, it's, I don't blame them for trying to convince themselves that,
right.
that they're on the cusp. But let's face it, I pointed out this on Twitter yesterday. They have every gadget known to man to improve their pitching. They got the plate and the mound down there to make sure, like in Fort Myers, to make sure you're landing with the proper force. When they started doing this, there was like 7 of them in the world. They got the camera that shows your skeleton to see how all this stuff. I mean, they've invested millions in this stuff. They gave Little Wes everything he wants, right? Every weird idea he can come up with that's going to make you better. I said, they've invested in everything except actual pitchers. They've invested in plates and analytics and spin rate. And by the way, is spin rate going to become a little less important now that you can't load yourself up with super glue or something? I mean, are things, all these spin rate improvements, they convinced themselves were coming from having a plate in the mound that told you what force you were landing, could be just because the guy was cheating, right? I don't know. I mean, but was Maeda cheating last year? Who knows?
Yeah,
I don't know. But the big disappointment of the Falvey regime is Falvey's game. Falvey got the job because he was this young pitching savant in Cleveland, and we have not seen that. And Colomé, as I told you this before, when they signed him, and I read he was a guy who threw cutters 70% of the time or was losing velocity, I said, do the name Phil Hughes ring a bell?
Yeah.
Because, we all love Phil Hughes. He had a fantastic year. And then the next year he was throwing 3 miles an hour less. And traditionally, the guys who throw cutter, when they lose velocity, they lose effectiveness. And so he got what, 7 million? Something
at least. I think it was more. I think it was more, but yeah, he was coming off a great year last year. But again, he was a guy that probably benefited from the weak schedule last season too, because he was pitching against even worse competition, pitching for the White Sox.
Just imagine if this team was a contender, though. I mean, if they were these were important games that we were paying attention to, the nervous breakdowns that Hansel would provide trying to pitch the ninth inning. He couldn't wait to rush out there yesterday and walk that lead off.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't come close, throwing 4 pitches. And then I think it was 6, right? And Rortman finally went out there and said, hey, throw the ball over the plate, will you? So, and God, I love that young man as a receiver, right? Rortman, but a 5'9" catcher who can't hit. I don't see him playing half the time for a team, but that's the way it goes without Garver playing, I guess.
Now it sounds like Garver's coming back after the All-Star break, so we'll see about that. He says he's getting ready to go. I thought of Garver, unfortunately, last night when Rortfit got a foul tip off of a very sensitive area.
Yes.
Also, that catching style they've got right now leaves you wide open. I think our colleague Chip Scoggins wrote about that a while back.
Yes, it does. Yeah. I mean, you get trying to steal the low. I don't think it's worth it to steal 3 pitches a game. I don't think it is. That this guy, he's the best pitch framer in baseball. He averages 2.1 extra strikes a game, and then this guy costs you 2 strikes. So that's 4 pitches. Is that worth it to not be able to throw anybody out because you're in that stance, or create more wild pitches and stuff? Now, Rortman's a great pitch blocker. I'll say that for him, but he's so close to the ground, he should be. But they, I cannot share the optimism. I mean, you go to spring training, we'll have to see if they do anything in the off season. If they keep Reusse and go out and spend some money for a starting pitcher, but you're not going to look. You've already seen the best Pineda's ever going to give you, right? I mean, the guy weighs 330 pounds. He's not going to get young and spry all of a sudden, right? And, he's a 5 1/3 guy when he's going good. And, and Maeda is all of a sudden, we're all disillusioned with him, even the way he pitched the other day. And, Barrios has been good, but the other day he wasn't that good. But Reusse is going to cost you $150 million if he hits the open market. What are you going to do about that? You're going to pay him that much? I don't think so.
I'm Chris Hine, Timberwolves beat writer at the Star Tribune and the first 5-time guest in daily delivery history. Thank you for listening to this podcast. This work is made possible by our Star Tribune subscribers. For unlimited access to the articles mentioned in this podcast, our coverage of Minnesota sports from pros to preps, and even all of Rand's future blog posts about how the Timberwolves should trade for players they will never get, go to startribune.com/subscribe.
Patrick, let's move on to Suns and Bucks NBA Finals. And I want to pose a question to you about that series. It sounds like Giannis is doubtful for game 1. That's tonight, Tuesday night. Maybe he'll play as the series goes on, but I'm less concerned about who's going to win this as I am. Is this, Patrick, the ultimate why not us Timberwolves series? Because you got the Suns, who weren't even in the playoffs last season, who kind of made this miraculous leap got one veteran, Chris Paul, and then they're already kind of on this trajectory upward. They went 8-0 in the bubble last year, but didn't even make the playoffs last year. They're in the finals now all of a sudden. And you got Milwaukee, this comparable market to us that we always compare ourselves to Wisconsin, even though they always seem to have more success than Minnesota teams in almost everything, especially college sports. But you got this mid-market team that's managed to hold on to its star, that's managed to build around him, and now they're in the finals too. Why not us, Patrick? Why not us?
Well, we don't have Giannis for one thing, because he's a much better player than Cat is, because he shows up. He shows up every night, unlike Cat. But I do think it provides hope that you're not going to be 30 and 52 for the rest of your lives, that you're gonna be able to, win in the 40s, and you get somebody to go with Edwards and Towns if he sticks around, and you get that third. It ain't D-Lo, by the way, or no D-Lo. That isn't your third guy. You'll be better off without him. But I like McDaniels. They got some nice little second tier guys, the McDaniels and Nasri's a good backup center, and they got some. They're okay depth wise. I think it's maybe everybody got on Ricky this year because he couldn't shoot, but what's new? I thought he was okay as a. He had to play a lot more than he should have because of Russell, but being hurt all the time. But it's not. I really do feel that it's things just look less hopeless. I said in a piece the other day that there's a chance for teams that are constructed instead of assembled. I mean that, and you know what? You know what part of it is, Mike?
What's that?
LeBron is now human, right? LeBron is. You don't mind. You'll let him take a shot. Go ahead, take a shot. He's not. He's probably. I mean, current skill level. Okay, not age, not anything. Who are you going to take, him or Devin Booker? Devin Booker in a heartbeat. There's a lot of guys I'm going to take over LeBron right now. He's slow. He's gotten slow. And, Anthony Davis is beat up. So this idea that all of a sudden, if the Lakers just get healthy, they're going to be a monster again, I don't buy it. And I think that, Anthony Davis has proven he's going to play 50 games a year. And LeBron was going to play every game this year and show what a warrior he was. And then he broke down. What is he, 38?
Yeah, 36, 37. I feel like
37. I mean, he's not. He's good. I mean, he's great. He can do this and that. He's probably the greatest player of my lifetime. Take that, Michael Jordan. But he's not. Where LeBron goes does not mean look out, they're going to be in the finals. Not anymore, I don't think. And I think that ship has sailed. You got Trae Young, you got Giannis, you got all these, you got Devin Booker, you got all these young guys. I think it's a great sign, but I wouldn't get to the why not us yet until they show me that there's 3 minutes left and they're down 4. They can guard somebody. I'm gonna have to see that before I can get excited about what the possibilities are. But I don't think Cat's a rally around guy either. I think Giannis is a rally around guy. But that said, you know why this Phoenix Bucks series is so much fun, don't you?
What's that?
It's the Suns' chance to finally get revenge for getting stuck with Neil Walk when the Bucks got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar by losing that coin flip.
I don't think I know this story. I don't think I know this part of NBA history. By the way, LeBron is 36. Looked it up quick. He'll be 37 in December. We aged him quickly.
Quickly he looked aged this year. But the last place team in the West and the last place team in the East, the Bucks and the Suns, who basically came into the league together, flipped a coin to see who'd be number 1 in the draft. And the Bucks got Lou Alcindor / Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and the Suns got Neil Walk. was the center who was the second pick. So
I've never even heard of Neil Walk, so I guess
well,
that'll tell you how lopsided that was.
The Suns wish they hadn't. So, but the Bucks then Kareem became the first guy, basically the first guy to say, "I'm not culturally satisfied in Milwaukee, and I'm not going to re-sign with you." And they basically had to trade him, but they won the title in his third year, I think. They had him and Oscar, and one of the great tandems in NBA history. And I think it was their third year. He stuck through the first contract, and then made him trade him to the Lakers, and to let that. That's a cutting edge moment in NBA history too. It's when the stars started dictating where they were going to go, right? So anyway,
something tells me the Wolves, by the way, aren't going to be able to trade for Devin Booker. That was the big.
No, I mean, I don't.
Remember, that was the big hope like a year ago.
Oh yeah. Well, he has no chance with the Suns, so he wants to get up here and play with his pal Cat. Is there anything more overrated than Cat's friendships? Who cares? You play basketball. You're making enough money that if you guys are friends, you can fly to Vegas on an off day and hang for 2 days, right?
Right.
I mean, it's nonsense, but we get so goofy. Oh man, him and Cat and Devin Booker, they're just the best buddies. Well, in that case, I got news for you. The Suns don't want Cat. They like the guy they got playing center now because he does what you're supposed to do: block shots, rebounds, and helps out the superstar. So
the dream wasn't that far.
A
couple of years ago, the dream wasn't that far fetched, though. I just had to look it up. I remember the Suns being bad. They two seasons ago, they won 19 games. They were 19-63 in the last full NBA season, and now here they are in the finals.
And yet their coach Monty Williams couldn't beat out my guy Tibbs for
I still can't believe that. And it's a regular season award, and I think the Knicks were even maybe with the roster they had, what they were able to squeeze out of that roster to get the 4 seed. But still, Monty Williams, like, what were they? They won 52 games this year, didn't they? Weren't they like 52-20? Yes. How can you not win? 51, 52. They had like 10 more regular season wins than Tibbs. Like, still, it's a
the
I don't
power
know. That one's still
apparently the New York media still has power. I don't know how.
I guess
Tibbs got many accolades, but I choose to say that it was on merit, just to agitate Wolves fans, of course. But I just anyhow, it's fun to see. It's fun to see 2D. It might not be fun for the ratings, but I think it's great for the NBA and for markets like Minneapolis, where you can just say, it isn't hopeless. I wouldn't say it's why not us, but it isn't. I would say it's not hopeless. And that's good.
Put that on the advertising slogan for the Wolves next year. Timberwolves basketball, it's not hopeless.
The story of the weekend, though, is the goaltender getting shot to death with a fireworks thing.
Unbelievable.
What the hell was that? Now, they said it was like a big shell that got tilted.
Like a mortar, yeah.
So it was where? Someplace in Michigan. Right?
Michigan, yeah.
It was
Columbus goalie, yeah.
Looked like they were partying in Michigan, and he was in a hot tub.
Yeah.
Oh, this thing got tilted, and then it must have been like the Roman candle of big charges or something, because they were all running to get away from it, and he got hit in the chest and dead, age 24. That fireworks is the fireworks we sell in Minnesota is probably about the furthest you want to advance in that area. Although when I was a kid, man, we had a great time. We're lighting our Roman candles and shooting them at each other.
Oh yeah, we had bottle rocket wars. I mean, I was like, it's like, what were we doing? Like, that was like lucky we didn't get an eye taken out.
All
or something.
Have the fingers and eyes, both eyes and our fingers. It's a miracle. I did once. So I was driving in my car, and I had some cherry bomb type things in the car with me, and I saw a friend of mine driving in this old Chevy I owned. and I lit it up and threw it out the window, and the window was closed. I pounced in the back seat, and it blew a big hole in the back seat, the middle, and I drove around the car for about 2 years with the big hole in it. Watch it if you get in the back there. You might fall in the hole. Cherry bomb hole there. So anyway.
The youthful indiscretions. Well,
yes,
tragedy.
There were a couple.
Yeah, tragedy with obviously with the Columbus story. It's this unbelievable and a good reminder that take it easy on the 4th of July. Well, good stuff, Patrick. We'll do this again 2 weeks from now. Next week you'll be on to talk U.S. Open, but appreciate it, and we'll reconvene once the sports calendar picks up again a little bit too.
All right, sir.
That'll do it for today. Thanks for listening so much. Good stuff coming up the rest of the week as well. And like I promoted with Patrick Reusse, special series coming up next week on 1991 and a look back at all the major events that took place then. Got some great stuff planned for that. Kent Herbeck, Brian Bellows, plenty of other special guests will join me for that series. Thanks for listening today. We'll catch you again on Wednesday.